Hello and welcome to the Youth Initiative Scotland podcast. Today we have on our show a good friend of mine, a man who I have great respect for, a priest, Fr James O'Reilly from Belfast in Northern Ireland, a priest now in Antrim. I was able to interview him a couple of weeks ago. It was a very enjoyable interview. Good to hear him, good to hear what he had to say, in particular in relation to how Youth Initiatives has helped him discover meaning and purpose for his life and how he's using that and going forward. If you'd like to hear more about Youth Initiative Scotland, go to our website youthinitiativescot.com. Follow us on Twitter at YISC_2018 or on Instagram and Facebook at Youth Initiative Scotland. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoy the show. Yes, here we are. Looking forward to this one. I hope you are too. This is my man, James O'Reilly. Father James, we should say. What do you call? What are you supposed to say? A priest? Your what? Your grace?
No, definitely not. That's a bishop. So.
Sorry. Should know that. Aye, that's right.
Father's fine. James is fine. Whatever. Call me what you want. That's fine.
You've been called many things in your life. Father James, this is Jamesy. Jamesy's a good friend of mine, a long time friend. Jamesy was there. Some of the most important experiences in my life in Detroit, 2007. Jamesy has journeyed alongside myself, alongside many others. Jamesy now does that in a professional capacity as a priest. Jamesy comes from West Belfast, came up through YI. Jamesy trained as a PE teacher and went on to do a few other things, brief stint with Youth Initiatives working for them, and on to the priesthood, on to seminary and the priesthood. It's an absolute pleasure. It's a great joy in my life to spend time chatting to James O'Reilly. So pleasure's all yours today. I hope you enjoy this. First things first, Jamesy. It seems like null and void has been taken off the table and it seems like Liverpool are going to be champions. Are you going to break lockdown rules to celebrate?
I don't know if I could comment on that just yet, Andy. It's one of those things that I don't know how I'll react. I'll just have to wait and see, you know. I'm excited though.
Social distance wave to every Man United fan, you know.
Yeah, I'll think of something. To rub it in. So.
Good. Well, I'm excited for you. Although I would definitely.
Thanks for having me.
I would definitely have laughed if the league had been declared null and void. But we don't think that's going to be the case. So, Jamesy, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, before we get into stuff. What have you been up to? How does lockdown affect a priest? What do you end up doing? Do you do less?
Yeah.
Quieter?
Do you know, for some priests, that's probably the case. To be honest, the first, Andy, is a privilege. Thank you for asking me. It's great to chat and that. But just the nature of where I'm at, you know, means that I'm actually still quite busy. You know, I'm looking after one of the hospitals in the diocese here, Antrim Area Hospital, and whilst it hasn't been busy in terms of calls, which thank God, that's always a good sign. Part of my role is to be in the hospital most days, to be around, to be available for staff and stuff like that. So that's what I've been up to, kind of in the mornings, saying mass, doing all those kind of things. And then our ministry has moved online, so I'm certainly now a techie, so that's been a learning, doing kind of things online. So I'm kept going, which I prefer. You know, I'd rather be that than fiddling with thumbs. So, but no, I'm a busy boy.
Good, right. So busy. That's interesting in the hospital. Is there many people with the virus in the hospital at all, or is it?
There is. I mean, everything's relative, isn't it? You know, there's, you know, maybe kind of a dozen or so confirmed cases from the ill, critically ill, you know. So and I've been called to some of those patients, which meant feeling done PPE gear, and that was an experience of humility, of humbling, and but also quite nervous, you know. But that's what we're asked to do, and we just do it, you know. So.
What was that like? Because if you're wearing, see the way you normally, I mean, the weirdest thing, one of the weirdest things for me has been like not shaking people's hands and stuff like that, and not like greeting people in the way you normally would and stuff like that. What's it like, I guess, in terms of human connection when you're like all guarded up against so that you can see someone? How must that be from that person or what?
It's. I mean, it's hard to gauge, you know, from my perspective, you know. It's awful, really. You know, it's very different. You know, the sacrament that we talk about as in the Catholic tradition, you know, is still valid. You know, the prayers still work, so to speak. But there's definitely a connection, you know, a human connection that you're not able to have, you know. And we just we just pray, you know, and pray for safety and all those things. But not being able to have that. You know, you're wearing gloves and face masks and visors. It's just different. You know, it's just not. It's a reality that we have to face. You know, if we're going to get through it, though. So,
interesting, mate. Good. Right. Well, tell us a wee bit about yourself. So, I said you grew up in West Belfast. Whereabouts were you born? Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about that area. What it's like.
So I grew up in West Belfast. You know, and the area that I grew up, it's called the Colin area, you know, and I first spent the first half of my life up to, well, less than half, up until about 13, 14 in Polglass, you know, this kind of big, kind of sprawling housing estate. And then at the age of 14, me and my family, we moved to Lagmore, which is, I suppose you call it the nicer part of the Colin area, you know, and where mum and dad still live to this day, you know. So yeah, that's where I grew up. Very proud of where I'm from, you know.
What as an area, what is it like demographic wise? What's the,
you know, it's hard to kind of describe. You know, it'd be described as kind of socially deprived, working class, a lot of unemployment. You know, a lot of, there was a very high suicide rate at different points. You know, would be described as, yeah, that would be the kind of demographic of the area. But when you grow up in it, you know, when that's home, you know, it you kind of see it in a different way. You know, like I never ever felt growing up that I was growing up in a rough area or anything like that. You know, do you know what I mean? I just that was home, and that was the reality. But definitely a lot of challenges for a lot of families. I definitely wouldn't have considered myself in that bracket. You know, I felt very fortunate with mum and dad and the grew up in. But yeah, working class, a lot of issues, but a lot of goodness, a lot of incredible people from the area as well.
Cool. So what was your school like? How did you get on at school? Did you enjoy formal education? And
you know, I would probably say yes and no, to be honest. You know, I went to primary school in St. Kieran's and Poglass, shout out, you know, I loved primary school. Then, and it was really interesting because when I was going on to secondary school, our year group was, that year, kind of 84, 85 year group, there was an unusually high number of kids. And so the year before, I got a C in my 11 plus. That would have got you into the grammar school that my friends went to the year before, and so we applied for that and didn't get in. And then it was very mum and dad were freaking out, and because they didn't want me to go to St. Colum's, which was the local high school in Pembroke. Right. And so, long story short, I went to school in Lisburn in St Patrick's, which I love. But the irony of it was that around that time, St Colum's got a new principal, and the school just academically just went up and up and up and up, and reputation, where St Patrick's went the other way. So it did. And so anyway, so I went to St Patrick's in Lisburn, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of friends. I did okay academically. I did my best. Was involved, played a lot of football. Probably fourth year, fifth year was the highlight of my soccer career. So
peak to the age of 16.
So I won the footballer of the year. And in terms of academics, I'm one of those people I would never ever have considered myself academically gifted. But I was always a grafter. I always worked hard, and I gave it. I always felt I owed it to my family in some weird way, to do my best. And so I did, and I came out of St Patrick's the fifth year with 6 GCSEs, went on and did my A-levels. And so it's a hard one to answer, because I found academics tough, but I kind of in a weird way enjoyed it. If that does that answer your question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, answers that. It was an open-ended. There wasn't a right answer or something.
Yeah, no, I know, but it did go the right direction, really. I mean,
so the system was. Is it still the case then that if you do well at primary school, you get into a grammar school, and is like a grammar school a high achieving school or something like most?
Yeah.
And so they still have that?
Yeah, they do. It's a different system. I don't really understand it. The system, I don't know, is it the same around the UK? But in the north of Ireland here, they have these called GL exams, and which basically designate whether or not you go to a grammar school or not. Yeah.
So you set an exam at the age of 11?
Yeah. And I did okay. I was delighted with my results.
Interesting.
But definitely from the age of 11, there's that kind of sense of failure. You didn't get into the smart school, which is awful. It's awful. It's just not. There's something wrong about that, isn't there? Like,
yeah. What does that do for all the people, or the mindset when you show up for day one of
absolutely
the not smart school?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something wrong. But anyway,
interesting. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Would it be the case at all that so the non-grammar schools, would they be more inclined towards, would they be better for things like woodwork, metalwork, any sort of thing that might lead to a trade or anything like that, or would
see,
it be the case of?
I don't even know if that's the case, to be honest, because I don't know if you can kind of measure that at that age. My experience growing up, was that it's almost like you settle for mediocre when you have the ability to, not that a trade or anything's mediocre, but you almost settled, whereas I feel like a lot of young people who have dreams and aspirations really have the ability to do that, and if from an early age, if you don't get the right grade in your primary school leaving exam, it's almost a mindset. It's set in almost immediately that, I'm not smart enough to be a teacher or whatever, so I'll maybe set my goal on this thing over here. And I know a lot of friends of mine, of colleagues and different people who didn't do great, went to secondary schools and are thriving in academia because they didn't allow their grade at age 10 to dictate how their life was going to turn out. There's probably a higher majority of folks in kind of secondary schools or non-grammar schools who do work in kind of trades and stuff like that. But I don't think it's based on a bit. I don't think it's kind of because of ability, to be honest.
Yeah. We're obviously also making vast generalizations over everyone that's
Yeah.
academic does academic things, and everyone that's not as.
It's just my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It would be fascinating to read some stuff about what that does for young people, or what it does to young people, even more. Good. Right, thanks. So at what point did you meet youth initiatives and all that?
So I think I was 16, 17. I was almost 17. And me and my friends, my mates, we were in Lagmore, where I'm from. The place where we would gather to play football was the church car park. That's where we gathered, and we couldn't play one day because there was something going on, and it was a mission that youth initiatives were running, and there was a Franciscan priest, Father Stan Fortuna, who was running a mission, or youth initiative brought over, and he was going around the parishes, and so we were kind of outside, literally, that at the edge of the church car park, and we saw all this going on, and every day you see this kind of weird looking monk with a beard and a dress,
With dreadlocks as well, do you know that guy?
Yeah, he had dreadlocks, he's kind of this Greek, yeah, but is Greek American. Anyway, we saw it and we were very intrigued, but the youth worker at the time, who still works for Youth Initiatives, Andy Hewitt, he saw us and came over and introduced himself, invited us to come in, and we did, and it was weird, man. It was just interesting, and it was the start of my journey with Youth Initiatives. I mean, I don't remember anything that Father Stan said. There was no kind of, it was just a first impact, and then I met kind of all the youth workers at the time, and I got involved in the summer scheme, and that was really the beginning of my relationship with YI.
Mm-hmm. So you got involved in the summer scheme. That was the next thing, I guess. It was the start of summer that thing was then.
Yeah.
So so explain what summer schemes are, first of all.
Okay.
Because I don't know that we have a concept of that. What would that involve?
So, I mean, it was the first time I was ever involved in anything like that, really. But basically, a two-week program for kids where they would come every day. They would go away on trips, play games, and YI is based on volunteers. For the summer scheme to run, they need volunteers. The staff can't do it, and so we were invited to come along and volunteer to lead games, to look after kids for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. And so you were...
That's a rough version, but...
16-year-old looking after kids. So, like, what were some of the first things that you liked about it then, and what made you start coming back then?
The model of youth initiatives is brilliant. From the moment that I got involved, and it wasn't just me, I was involved with some of my friends, and when we got involved in summer schemes, it was just a fun place to be around. I'd been involved, and I'd went to other youth organisations, and it was very kind of robotic. You walked into a hall full of pool tables and table tennis tables, and that's great for what it is. But there was something about how youth initiatives approached youth work that was different, and it's only looking back that I kind of understand that, where it was a relational model, where I was getting alongside you and journeying with you, which is what YI is about. It's about being creative and helping you grow into the face of the person that they believe God wants you to be. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. So they journey with you. They help you pursue your dreams. Would you be encouraged to figure out what you want? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't. Every young person, every person that comes through the doors is taken just as you are, what you bring, and gifts and talents and everything that you have to offer. And why the youth workers, the model is to really journey alongside you, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. It's kind of help you become the person that you were created to be.
Mm-hmm.
and that's so important for young people in our world.
Cool. Right, do you have could you give me maybe your top 3 YI moments, your kind of most, they could be most profound or funniest, or your top 3 moments, if you can narrow it down to 3?
Oh man, there's so many that I could think of. I could tell you number one straight off the bat, because that's easy, because it's the number one in my life, full stop, is at a summer camp. Where I had an encounter where and it's so hard to explain, where you realized fully that my life matters, that my life has meaning and purpose and direction because I'm a son of God. And that's number one. Now there's so many that I could say that come in after that, Andy. We had a trip away. One of my first trips away with YI was when we went camping in Scotland in the Highlands.
Oh, really?
Which was mental. I had never been away camping in my life. I didn't realize how much of a city boy I was until I ended up in the middle of the woods. It was just brilliant crack away with a bunch of young people, and then there's so many kind of individual moments. There's moments since I kind of left YI, but we also had kind of a mission trip, and it was a mission trip in inverted commas, because we went to Minnesota in the States in 2004. And it was just a holiday, It was, and anybody will tell you, but it was just brilliant. It was just a brilliant experience to be away, to see the world, to go away with your friends, they're the first 3 that kind of come to mind.
What did you do in Minnesota? Like, what was the plan?
So we went to Uncle Jim's cabin. Uncle Jim. We only met him once. We just knew it was Uncle Jim's cabin for the 4th of July.
Didn't know whose uncle it was, and then just
it was the people who were out there. We were out there with, But it was just this big party for the 4th of July, and it was brilliant. One of the boys, jeepers, it was a horror story. One of the boys, a friend called Blaine, shout out to Blaine, jumped in the river and couldn't swim, and it was very traumatic. And also, he's okay. He's okay now. You can laugh about it now. It was brilliant. We were supposed to do. To be honest, I think like the week before or something, we had these kind of trips planned, these kind of service projects that fell through almost immediately before we went.
Oh, really?
So which that didn't help things. So so we kind of traveled around a bit. We did bits and pieces. We did a wee bit of work, but the boys went to Minnesota and the girls went to the Bronx in New York. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like they were doing real work, so it did. But we just had us for a couple of weeks as class. So it was
good.
So
good. Excellent. So, what's YI meant for your life? Where are you because of it, and where might you be without it?
Well, I'm one of the biggest champions for YI, and I really am. Because it changed my life. Before YI, I would say I was just another kid. Played football, just had friends. Was doing okay. But when I met YI, when I encountered YI, I began to understand more about who I am and who I was created to be, and it really took my life's trajectory. Where I was going, I've no idea. I was the first in my family to go to university and do all that, and which was a great honor to make. It was a great honor, and I say this, and I mean this in the best possible way. I did that for my mum, because before that, I kind of, I didn't really know what I wanted, but I knew my life had meaning, and I needed to figure that out. And why it helped me, why I kind of facilitated um, being able to go and live and serve in inner city Detroit for a year, which was brilliant. And my life went on this path. It's really led me to where I am now. To above all, to knowing God, to knowing who I am in God. Why I has helped me see that God has this incredible plan for me and for all of us, and that God can use me to in some small way in His plan. So yeah. Why I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. But why I was the start of something incredible that led to being a priest. And that's not to say when you go to why you're going to become a priest, you know. But but what it is to say, but what it is to say is that the model of why the ethos and why helped me see that I could make a difference in the world. That my life has meaning and direction and purpose. If I could sum it up in one sentence, that would be it.
Yeah. Thanks. Last question, mate. When you've obviously actually been into All Saints, and you've obviously actually been into school, and you've been to Scotland. But when are you coming back to visit YI Scotland?
That's right. Did you tell everybody that whenever I was in All Saints that time, that I was actually on a 3-day kind of sabbatical, and that I was supposed to be not doing any work? Did you tell people that, Andy? Did you?
It's not work. It's not work. I mean, to your mate at work.
When am I coming back? I was supposed to be coming back recently, and it didn't work out because of different things. But as soon as I get the invite, I'll be on the first plane over.
I'll get you over for a retreat or something next time.
Be class.
Good man. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It always is. I hope everybody enjoys this, and thanks for your time, Father James.
Thanks for having us, and hopefully it made sense. It made sense to me anyway. So
good. It did.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers. Thanks, guys.